Was ist dann? Lass uns das nochmal changen, das Statement. Needed was is correct. Ja, ja. Bla bla, sie hat ihn gestabbt. Sie hat ihn mit dem Schraubenzieher gestabbt, als er da lag. Zack, und dann hat sie das. Hatte das Screwdriver und dann hat sie ihn gestabbt. Okay, so weit, so gut. The recall of death, blah, blah, I'm sure there's some here in the testimony. You know, if you think it would be appropriate. Sure, you could ask Dr. Theis to change, blah blah. Okay, das machen wir. Have her change it again. Nochmal. Just Theis, what you said before about what you did to the victim's body. Weil ich glaube, es ist schon der richtige Weg, weil der Van Siegs hat ja auch gesagt, ist er in Akkord mit. Very well. Als wir das erste Mal gemacht haben. I stood over the victim's corpse where they lay in the top cage and plunged the screwdriver into the chest. Das hier vielleicht? Objection. Jetzt nicht wirklich, oder? Oh Mann. I've got a nasty feeling that this inconsistency points to an extremely uncomfortable truth. Was geht denn jetzt mit der Musik ab? Was ist diese Musik? Hä? Das ist das Pursuit-Team. Gerade. Da. Okay, ich habe gerade Gänsehaut. That this inconsistency points to an extremely uncomfortable truth. What on earth is the matter, Counsel? Have you lost your tongue? I apologize. Alter, holy shit. I apologize, my lord. Dr. Theis, in that last statement of yours, there's just one point that seems to defy explanation. Out with it, my learned friend. There's an obvious inconsistency between your description and this photograph. Alter, die Musik. Which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death. Das ist so richtig aufbauend, die Musik, so richtig building, als ob gleich der große Ding kommt. Which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death. Der große Knall. Objection! The court has already examined that photograph in depth. There's nothing new we can learn from it. Objection! Yes, we have already considered it, that's true. But we know now the facts to be different. What do you mean? I believe we should let the defense explain. Where in this photograph would we see the alleged inconsistency with the witness's statement? Puh. Das ist sogar ein Remix, Entschuldigung, ist gerade off topic, ne, aber es ist sogar ein Remix aus dem Pursuit-Theme und dem Objection-Theme von ihm. Hier ist einmal und dann auch, sind auch Teile von dem Objection-Theme drin. Alter, das ist, Junge, was machen die? Was machen sie mit der Musik? Wie nice! Where in this photograph would we see the alleged inconsistency with the witness statement? Okay, was hat sie denn gesagt? I stood over the victim's corpse, who had lay in the top cage, and plunged the screwdriver into the chest. Okay, er hat also da gelegen. Das Ding ist dann, wir hatten vorher das Thema schon mal mit Gravity, ne, mit Schwerkraft. Was uns Sholmes erklärt hat, was dann eine falsche Deduktion war. Aber wir hatten schon mal Schwerkraft. Und ich würde sagen, es geht ein bisschen gegen die Gesetze der Schwerkraft, dass wenn der Assman hier auf dem Boden lag, während er gesteppt wurde, dass hier die Blutspur dann so runtergeht. Ich glaube, das wäre eher, wenn er senkrecht stehen würde, aber nicht horizontal liegend. deswegen würde ich einfach mal das hier präsentieren. Look closely at the bloodstain on the victim's chest. It clearly extends in a downward direction towards the man's feet. And why is that significant, Counsel? If the victim was stabbed moments before the kinesis machine was set in motion, that's entirely expected. Ah! Of course! No, that's not what happened! Exactly, my lord. Dr. Theis made it very clear in her testimony just now that the point at which she stole Professor Harebrain's screwdriver and stabbed the victim was after the grand deception was set in motion, when the birdcage had fallen below the stage out of sight. From the shape of it, it's clear that the birdcage would have fallen on its side after the 30-foot drop, and if the victim had really been stabbed with inside the birdcage in that position. The blood from the wound would have spread out equally in all directions. For it to have formed the longitudinal appearance we see in the picture is inconceivable. Ah! Given that the victim's blood seeped vertically downwards from the wound, it must be the case that when you stabbed Mr. Assman, he was standing up. In short, Dr. Theis, your latest testimony was a total fabrication. Und da ist jetzt the real thing. Da ist die real Musik. Nice. Gänsehaut. I knew it. I was right. Now I've identified the contradiction. There's only one way to explain the facts. We've all been under a great misapprehension here. What? What sort of misapprehension? Dr. Theis, you claim you were cursed into helping Mr. Drebber as a result of the note he left in the waxwork. You claim that you made changes to the scene of the crime to implicate the defendant. And you claim that you authored a fake autopsy report to cover your tracks. But one of those claims is an out-and-out lie. Because the question of what the bloodstain really tells us has only one possible answer. If that is the case, what is it, man? Counsel, you've clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Theis' story is shown to be a lie by the contradiction in her testimony? How she was cursed, the stabbing of the victim, the autopsy report. Puh. The stabbing of the victim or nicht? The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of the events. If, when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage. Yes, it would, which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord.
Objection!
That's impossible. The man was dead, remember? No, that is a misapprehension. Okay. When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. But Mr. Assman didn't die in the fall. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came around, he got to his feet to climb out of the cage. Just as Dr. Theis appeared. Was sie zur Mörderin macht. If the victim was in fact alive at that point in time, it changes everything. Und sie musste es machen, um mit dem Plan durchzukommen. Aha! Mr. O.D. Assman's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Hairbrain. Nor was it the mastermind behind the stage trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. It was you, Dr. Courtney Scythe! Ah! Order, order, order. Can this possibly be true? Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, was it? You killed him. He hoped that by admitting to being an accomplice in Mr. Drebber's scheme, the trial would end. Before you were accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up! You're so desperate now, you're making all this up, as if I would do something like that.
Objection!
I assure you, the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established the facts using evidence and logic alone. Ha! Logic? Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. What do you mean? I'd have thought it was obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Assman? Assman was involved in any number of criminal activities, from coercion to theft to murder. But there's no known connection to Dr. Scythe here. Weil es eigentlich so geplant war, wie wir die ganze Zeit von ausgegangen sind, würde ich sagen, oder? Also, der Drebber wollte den Assman töten und dachte auch, er wäre tot und hat Dr. Scythe dann diese Nachricht geschrieben, meinte, ja, tauscht die Körper aus, ne? Und er hat selber nicht geprüft, ob er wirklich tot ist. Er dachte, der Fall wird genügen. Und dann, als Courtney dann unten angekommen ist, hat sie gesehen, dass er noch lebt. Und dann, weil sie dann schon zu weit gegangen war, weil sie dann schon quasi den Dings, die Wachsfigur weggeschickt hat und alles, musste sie, denke ich mal, aus irgendeinem Grund ihn töten, damit ihre Geschichte nicht rauskommt. I'm rather relieved to say it does seem somewhat far-fetched. True, there's no obvious motive, but there's still something in the back of my mind. I feel sure I've seen something somewhere that hints at why the Corona might have done this. Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report, but murdering someone for no reason is a very different story.
Objection!
No, when you question what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Assman. Something did come to mind. What? What was it, Counsel? Enlighten the court at once. Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it at the time. Die Skalpelle oder was? There's a particular object that explains why Dr. Scythe would have wanted to kill Mr. Assman. Scalpels? It's a scalpel. Or rather, scalpels. Did you say scalpels? Ah! It would appear that word has struck a chord, Doctor. You... come on, out with it! It was yesterday, when we visited your laboratory. Look at this big thick book here. Ah, it appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh, what is it? It's clear that the team purchased various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They are buying 500 scalpels every month. Aber was hat das damit zu tun? 500 scalpels? A month? At first I wondered what on earth we could be using that many scalpels for. But actually, I realize now it's not the scalpers themselves that are significant. It's the money for them. Disappearing every month from the department's accounts. Asman's criminal organization relied heavily on extortion for its funding. Tracing the money from the forensic investigation team's account to find out where it was going would be extremely straightforward. 10 years ago, when Mr. Asman was still a journalist and wrote the article about Mr. Drebber, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching the story. Information relating to Dr. Scythe's darkest secret that he would use to rack money from her for the next decade. Ah, okay, dann hat er gesagt, jo, ihr bezahlt mich, du bezahlst mich, Dr. Scythe, oder ich erzähle dein Geheimnis. Her darkest secret. Good lord, you mean... I don't know what happened on the night of that execution 10 years ago, but clearly the opportunity to rid yourself of the menace was too tempting to pass up. So in the end, you weren't cursed at all, were you? You did it entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Asman in the heart with all your might. To silence a blackmailer who knew your dark secret forever. You'll never understand. None of you. What we've had to keep covered up all these long years. Und ich habe ein Gefühl, das wird auch eher was für einen Finalfall sein. Oder für den nächsten Fall. Was genau vor 10 Jahren passiert ist. As very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb, the truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, it's very possible that Courtney Scythe will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done, and tell the court the truth about what happened. 10 years ago, you told the truth, and you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness, and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years. Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. I mean, really? It's the addle-brained mock scientists that are the worst, you know. And that are the worst, you know. They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. And so they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about the wonderful hypotheses, their stupid eyes shining like a little child's. They make me sick. I can't abide the foolishness. Careful, Mr. Drebber. I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So, you admit it. You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim. Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Asman's article had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop Asman, did it? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see. Okay. The condemned convict that you saw rising from the grave in Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true, then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what had happened. Even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan requires that you abduct a particular waxwork model. Okay. Okay. In order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well, or on Dr. Seuss to be precise. It was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Asman turned up at my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye. About a coroner who'd handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of a new forensic team. When I learned that news, my cognitive processors started to devise a plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him, for revenge. And have that rotten Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I'd had to suffer. Okay. Your actions against those who ruined your future were justified as revenge, at least to yourself. Certainly, no one has the right to destroy another's prospect, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis. But you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that you would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But remember this. Your own actions resulted in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. Okay. Lord Van Zieks, what of Dr. Seuss? An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted, and she's been remanded in custody, my lord. I presume she will face trial in the coming days, along with Mr. Drebber. Das wird den Strongheart überhaupt nicht freuen, dass seine forensische Expertin jetzt, ja, quasi dead ist, weil sie einen Mord begangen hat. A most regrettable situation indeed. Aber vielleicht wusste er auch davon, deswegen wollte er sie abhalten, davon auszusagen. She's made great contribution to her profession over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. Wobei, wenn er es gewusst hätte, spricht das auch nicht gerade für ihn, muss ich sagen. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Harebrain. Oh, yes. It seems there was a great deal more to your experiments than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that all the solid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial, but I'm pleased to say you are absolved of all guilt. This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. Me, this dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy. I've been selfish and self-centered, and above all, a fool. Professor. I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research, misguidedly believing that I could do whatever I set my mind to, despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far greater people than I. No, Professor. That's not true. What? Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing, and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You are not to blame, in any way. Lord van Zieks. And the division with which he referred to you earlier, calling you a fool. Talentless even. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams. That's laudable, not laughable. Damn. No one has the right to deride another for such choices. Oh. Ist ja nett von ihm. Thank you, Baroque. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. If it is his court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused, I presume there are no objections. None from me, my lord. Certainly not. This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision. It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I have no misgivings whatsoever. What's that? He's done, is he? It's all over. I don't know what's become of the yard these days. I don't recognize the place. Very well. In that case, I hereby pronounce the defendant not guilty. Nice! Junge, Junge. Was ein Fall. Wie das alles verstrickt war mit dem Professor und allem. Uiuiui. Oh, ich muss ja nochmal nachdenken, bevor ich das überhaupt in Worte zusammenfassen kann, actually. Court is adjourned. Puh. Und das war erst der dritte Fall. It's over. There was some trial. Okay. Aber ich glaube, vom Professor werden wir noch mehr hören. Weil ich glaube, wir wissen noch nicht die ganze Wahrheit. Wir wissen auf jeden Fall noch nicht die ganze Wahrheit. Wir wissen nicht, warum er nicht gehängt wurde. Wir wissen nur, dass er nicht gehängt wurde. Dass es gefaked wurde. Und dass er Barocks Bruder Clint umgebracht hat. Mehr wissen wir ja nicht. Und dass er den Hund of the Baskervilles als Waffe benutzt hat quasi. 21st October, 4:33 p.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Professor, what a splendid outcome, isn't it? Oh, it is. It is. Congratulations, Professor Hairbrain. Mr. Naruhodo. Und ich finde es auch irgendwie einen witzigen Zufall, dass wir einen Professor auch hier verteidigt haben, der natürlich eine andere Person ist als der Professor der Massenmörder, aber es ist irgendwie schon... Das ist bestimmt kein Zufall, dass es in demselben Fall passiert ist. In demselben Fall, wo dieser Zusammenhang zu dem Professor hergestellt wurde. Mr. Naruhodo, Mr. Sato, I am truly beside myself with gratitude. How can I ever thank you enough? I'm just glad it's all been cleared up, that you realized you were just caught up in a bad situation. Aha! Right now, you know, if I had that research grant money. Aha! I give the whole lot to you, every penny. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so we don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal is more than enough. Oh dear. Oh, what can I do? How about this? As a memento, the paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento then. Thank you. I've been wondering, Professor, what are you going to do now? Oh my, yes. What am I going to do? My hypothesis and my great machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the great exhibition whilst I'm here, too, and see if new inspiration hits me. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea. I can't allow that. Barock? Lord van Zieks, what are you doing in here? Ich hoffe, das ist kein schlechtes Zeichen. Barock! I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey. You are one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution. Or the defense. Sorry? Or the defense? Did he just say that? Did I just hear that right? I always knew that you had my best interest at heart, don't worry. Ah, how about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We have a lot to catch up on. Das ist ein sehr unusual, ungewöhnliches Paar Freunde, würde ich sagen. Sehr kontrastreich auf jeden Fall. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. What? From there, you cross the channel and make your way to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets. But no! Hold on a minute, Barock. What about the great exhibition? This is a chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around. No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. Sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Barock. Will ihn aber nur beschützen, oder? Lord van Zieks. What's all this about? A necessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. You do. Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord van Zieks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time, and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well. Even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. Ah, you mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas. Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after the acquittal. Ich habe Angst Gina. That's been the pattern up to now. Und auch der Assman war ja der wurde ja schon mal von Van Zieks prosecuted. But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent. Aber ich glaube dann nicht, dass er es wirklich ist. Es wurde ja schon in der Episode angedeutet, dass es so jemand anderes ist. Aber ich bin mir jetzt mittlerweile sicher, dass Van Zieks nicht selbst die Leute umgebracht hat. Es tut mir leid, dass ich ihn damals verdächtigt habe, den McGilded umgebracht zu haben. Das tut mir wirklich leid, aber er sah auch nicht wirklich bestürzt aus. Aber wahrscheinlich hat er es einfach erwartet. Er hat es einfach erwartet, dass es passiert und deswegen war er nicht überrascht. Aber ich glaube nicht, dass er es selber war mittlerweile. And perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. Okay, Natsume and Gina were completely innocent. But Barock! Like the moustache in the beneath, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why. I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Right. Does your friend-shaped package get any say in it? Goodness, was this your intention all along, then, Lord van Zieks? In court where people think of him as a Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless. And yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being. Ah, yes, alright. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you so much for everything. Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you. Best wishes, Professor Hairbrain. Well, once the dust has settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Oh ja, ein Ace Attorney Game oder ein Fall einfach in Deutschland. Das wäre doch auch mal cool. Anyway, goodbye for now. Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes? I thought you'd gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk? With me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes. Bitte was? Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. The enigma, Baroque van Zieks. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes then. Oh, okay. Was will er von uns? Was kommt jetzt? Was kommt jetzt?